Hello, 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 and welcome. Well, that was fun. That's okay. That's what this show is going to be that way. So welcome to the final night of Con After Dark, brought to us by Hackensack Meridian Health Stage 17. This is Menti from Fireside Chats with me, my wonderful sidekicks. First, Mr. P Features.
Hello, internets.
P Features. I'm tired, and I don't feel like introducing him.
Okay.
Can you please?
And to my right, far right, we have the one, the only, Mr. Mauer.
Beep you.
Oh, that was really awkward.
Right to you.
Wow.
You
Maybe
don't even
you.
know if he's on that
I
camera.
can't see anything.
This,
That was uncomfortable.
But all I know is we have a wonderful guest who probably has no clue what she is getting herself into.
as she stares aimlessly.
She's really questioning her life decisions right now.
Led to this stage.
I bribed her to get her here.
Alcohol.
The wonderful Lynn Smith.
Thank you.
Can we
Thank you.
And scene. No, Lynn is an amazing artist that we've talked to. We first met in they changed it, so the Great Philadelphia Comic-Con. Not the Greater Philadelphia Comic-Con, the Great
They're
Philadelphia.
great. Yes.
Because it wasn't greater anymore. It was just great.
the greater good.
Next year will be greatest.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah.
So for those of our viewers and listeners that don't know you, let them know a little bit behind the scenes of who you are and what you do.
So I was born in April. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm an artist and a writer. I do a series called Plume. It is a Western adventure with a little bit of a magic sprinkled in there. And then I've got some projects with Dirk Manning. So Hope coming here shortly, and then Afterglow with Pat Shand. So on the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. So.
Yep, and Dirk could not be here with us tonight. He did have a fight with a New York City hot dog.
He lost.
True story.
True
yes.
story. The ice cream treated him very well. The hot dog, not so much.
No.
Oh, I think we have to say it right though. The dirty water dog.
The dirty
We
water
have to
dog.
say it right.
Dirty water
We're in New York
dog.
now.
We're in New York, yeah.
We gotta
The
say
dirty word
The
dog.
dirty water dog.
Ugh.
Dog is a
It'll
dog.
take you 10 minutes to get one.
So what I wanted to start tonight off with, because we have all been through cons for a long time, New York Comic Con for the East Coasters is the biggest con for us. What was your experience this weekend? It's been 4 days of excitement and energy and people and people and people.
I think there's-
And
I think
more
there were
people.
People.
I think
Yeah.
I saw a couple people.
I remember more people.
I remember crying in the corner, just shaking.
It was like 7 or 8
Yeah.
thousand.
Yeah, that was just on Thursday. Yeah.
That was just the people fighting for the dirty water dogs
No.
to get it out of Dirk's hand. But how was the show experience for you as an artist in Artist Alley?
Yeah, it was excellent. I mean, I was here 3 years ago, and I was up on the exhibitor floor with Devil's Due. So I didn't actually have a booth, an Artist Alley booth. So this is the first time I actually experienced like in the trenches, and it was awesome. It was really cool. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
in the trenches. That's
Yeah.
a phenomenal way to word it.
That's
In the trenches.
accurate.
Yeah, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
And coming from Great Philadelphia Comic Con
Mm-hmm.
to New York Comic Con, which ones do you prefer? Like now that you've been in those trenches versus the I don't know,
versus
the
like
lighter,
yeah.
Comic Con light.
Remember, you met us at Great Philadelphia.
Beta.
I
Comic Con.
know. Yeah, I know. I really enjoy the smaller shows. You kind of connect with more people of your peers. But I mean, the big, massive ones. I mean, come on, you get your name out there a little bit more. and
Sure.
There are pros and cons to both, for sure. But I do enjoy the 1 day cons because you're in, you're out, and it's
Wonderful.
yeah. And people are there. They're not like, oh, I'll be here tomorrow. No, they're there to buy. So there's some goodness in the 1 day shows too.
I'll still be there tomorrow, I promise.
Whether you want me or not, I'm there. Yeah.
Can
So
I buy
I'm-
that book now?
I'm assuming you appreciate the smaller con crowds then.
I do.
Like,
Yeah,
okay.
and then staff-wise too, as far as conventions go, you get to know those people too,
Yeah.
and you get the inner circle and all that. So, yeah, the smaller shows.
You're in the inner circle. Can we be?
It's a password thing.
Secret handshake.
yeah,
Fidelios.
yeah,
We'll
maybe.
talk about it later.
Yeah.
I do have to say, Gabe from Reed Pop, we saw him everywhere. So Gabe's the big guy with the beard. If you saw somebody in a Reed Pop shirt walking around, I literally, every time I turned around, he was doing something. So for as big as this con was, the team was everywhere checking in on people.
And for anybody who might be in the chat or is watching this later who is unaware, Repop is the company that handles New York Comic Con, Keystone Comic Con, and one other.
C2E2, the Seattle Con, Emerald City Con. They got a few others.
What was the big one? Is it Seattle?
Yeah, the Emerald City.
Yeah, Emerald
City, yeah.
Great cons. Did you get to meet anybody cool sitting in Artist Alley? I know John Leguizamo was just walking around.
Yeah, no, I met someone that met him.
Did you kick him?
I did not. No, I didn't kick anybody today. But you know,
Today.
but I didn't meet any. I mean, my row table mates and all that, but nobody, big celebrity or anything like that.
Mauer,
I don't have the money to
how
meet
come your
them.
questions turn into assaults? Why do you immediately go for
Go
assaulting
for
somebody?
violence.
So mean.
We've been in New York for a couple days and he's already like, kick him.
Isn't that what happens? It's like
New
the
York.
Venom symbiote seeping into me. I'm getting angrier.
No.
No.
None venom.
So let's talk about your start in comics because it's a really interesting story of where you started and how you got to where you are now. So
Yeah. So I actually went to school for animation. So
Oh,
I was
cool.
thinking, okay, I'm going to be an animator. I'm going to be at Disney.
Nice.
That dream died pretty quickly.
Oh.
I was gearing myself towards character design and storyboarding and things that I didn't have to spend hours on just to get 3 seconds of film or animation. So so it was kind of an easy transition from storyboarding to the comic book world, and started the Plume series as a hobby to keep myself drawing, practice every day, and the audience started to grow, and people suggested Kickstarter to me, and I launched my first campaign, and that's how Devil's Due found me and brought it all to print, and here I am, just immersed, and I love it.
For anybody who might be watching, or what can you explain Plume for us?
Yeah. So it is a Western. I always compare it to Indiana Jones meets the West with a female lead, even though I've learned recently that Indiana Jones is based off of a real woman. So there's a little trivia for you. So it's main character Vesper Gray. She's on this quest for revenge. She's trying to get all these magical artifacts back, and one such magical artifact is has a soul bound to it, and he has to protect anyone who wears it. So he's strung along for this
that's
ride.
cool.
So he's like a reluctant guardian angel to her, and of
kind of
course,
like Menti to me.
I'm the soul.
Yeah, the reluctant
just
guardian
stuck.
angel.
That actually
reluctant
makes
guardian
sense.
angel.
There.
Oh.
So how long has Plume been?
Been going on. 2011 is when the end of 2011 is when I first posted the very first page, and it ended October 2017. So it is a wrap. It's done. It's complete, and I've got a big shiny omnibus, and I love
How's that
it.
feel?
I had a moment when I first cracked open that box and saw it, and it's a shiny cover too, so it was like extra glittery, and
Don't let Menti near it. Shiny just distracts him.
I
Caitlin,
smelled
just-
its pages, and it was good.
Pat Cordula says hi.
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 They're in the chat right
Pat.
now.
Look right up there.
They're saying
I
Pat.
don't even know. I
Well,
don't
you've
even know
got
where-
one there and one in
Okay.
the middle.
Cat.
Camera 1, camera 2.
You're the best.
Camera
Pat.
1,
Speaking,
camera
Camera
2.
speaking of good staff, Cherry Capital. Now that is a good show. Have you ever been to that?
No, but you're in the inner circle, so I guess we're going to
Oh yeah.
Give us
So-
the password. Fidelio.
be. So, but you started off, like you said, you posted one page. You were online, right?
Yeah. Started out as a webcomic. So there were no. I guess, I never entertained the idea of it getting to print. I thought, maybe I would grow the audience, and down the line I would, do another project or something. But I never, I didn't think Plume would be a printed book, and I'm so happy it is, and it's.
So, as a creator, what's the difference with having that shiny, sparkly book versus that online instant gratification of finishing the page and getting it up to the fans? Is there one that you prefer more, or are they two complete separate entities for you?
Oh, I think they're two separate. I mean, nowadays, the digital age, it's awesome to connect to people immediately. And you even, as you're posting pages, you get feedback from people, and that might even shift your story a little bit. Like, oh, they like this character, they like this character. So that feeling of posting a page and then getting the reactions right away is amazing.
Exhilarating.
Yes. But holding it actually physically in your hand, and the feeling, like it's almost 500 pages worth.
My precious.
Yes.
You hug it.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you just kind of cuddle it a little bit. Yeah, so there's no feeling like that either. So there's no way I could choose one or the other, for sure.
Yes, I used to read a few web comics from friends that would put them up when I was in high school, and this was back in the day, and I thought it was just awesome. They'd be like, all right, I'm going to finish this next panel. They did it panel by panel.
That would drive me crazy.
It was a sociology experiment, actually, for him to do this. He wanted to see if people would, react to the comic in a different way because it was panel by panel.
Oh, wow.
But like you said, feeling it in your hands and having that book and having just that thing is also a driving factor for collectors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's a physical, evidence that you actually worked your butt off, and it's there. Yeah.
I'm going to say something really weird because I don't know
please.
what this means.
Okay.
But in the chat, we have Derek Becker wants to know, # where's Pat at? I have no idea what's happening.
So yeah, Pat, he posts pictures randomly, and he's like, "Where's Pat?" He just posts things where he's located. So that corresponds with the last.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Pat is there.
Where's Pat?
Where's Pat?
Pat in the chat.
It's the new Waldo.
Tell us, Pat.
So
Can't see her.
you wrapped up this 7-year journey.
Yes.
It's got some closure. You have a physical shiny in your hand.
Physical shiny
in your hand.
It's a shiny.
It's a shiny.
Like that's a shiny.
artifact, maybe.
Firefly?
accept
Anyone? No. One person got that. 2 people.
We lasted
Can I get
longer.
a third? All right.
No, it turns out.
So from that towards the end of Plume, you started a book with a writer who would have never been put into the genre that he is writing for, with Dirk Manning, who is known for his horror and his scary, scary stories, the tales of mystery. That's not the kind of story that he has given you.
No. Yeah. So Hope is our project, and it is a superhero genre. But don't get us wrong. It's still a very scary story, but in a different way. It's basically, it's a superhero genre, but the superhero aspect takes a back seat. It's definitely a character story, and it's about this woman. She is a superhero, and something tragic happens, and she's completely exposed. And it's society reacting to her as a mother and a superhero. And it's that first issue. When he pitched it to me, I was like, all right, I'm in, because it's horror. In a way,
Like a thriller horror.
well, not technical horror, but I mean, it's a scary thought, and it's interesting, really. I mean, I don't want to give anything away,
I
but
think any of his thoughts are scary,
yes,
but it's the look of it looks nothing like anything he's done. It was refreshing seeing a book that he's working on not look like Nightmare World or Tales of Mystery or the Twisted book that he's doing, which I commend you for taking his thoughts and making them so different. And it's a great project. Is that going to be continuing more? Do we have more coming from Hope?
yes, for sure. We're launching a Kickstarter in March, and it'll be the full, complete first volume, 6 issues included.
And just look for that on all social medias. Is there a website?
Oh yeah,
to go
we're
to
gonna
for
we're
that?
gonna pimp that out as much as possible. It's gonna be everywhere, and you're gonna get sick of us. So
Oh, good.
Yeah, March. Yep.
Good.
Yeah, you're gonna hate us.
More sick of you?
Ooh. Wow. All right. It's been fun. Con After Dark, ladies and gentlemen.
We paid you for an hour.
Okay, all right, we'll just half.
all right.
Okay.
So you said you wanted to be an animator in the beginning. What was the inspiration, that spark when you were a kid that said, that's what I want to do?
Oh, endless hours of sitting in front of the TV. VHS tapes of my Disney and Don Bluth films, and just absolutely falling in love with the world, and wanting nothing to do but just create my stories and animate them and watch them come to life. Then I found out, you're just a number in a studio, and so I wanted to steer away. So.
Aw.
Well, now that you've steered away, what kind of projects are dream projects for you? Like, do you want to stick to kind of create your own stuff?
Yeah, I love the indie scene, and my dream project, I don't see myself working for any big studios or anything like that. Creating my own world and characters and torturing them to death. Heck yeah, that's where it's at. Like,
Like,
So-
for example, we today, last day of the con, we went to the Todd McFarlane panel, and he was talking that Image is right now hunting down anybody they can because it's all creator owned.
Not just hunting down. He said it like 40 times.
He was
like,
really
they're
adamant
looking
about
for
bringing this
books.
up.
Yeah.
They're
So-
looking for books.
Even if it is I mean, I know they're not like the Marvel and DC, but they're up there, right? So the Image titles do very, very well. Would you be willing to move to that kind of a publisher, or do you want to try and keep it in house as much as possible?
I mean, if it's a short stint, sure. I mean, because that's obviously it'll be a great thing for my brand. But I mean, I had someone talk to me about the Marvel panel, and they were like, the kind of the magic was sucked out when you learn that it's almost like an assembly line of people that create this one story. It's like, you have the letter, you have the inker, you have the colorist, and it just goes down the line. And I like to have my hands in every aspect of it. And, with Plume, seeing that omnibus on my table, I know that I had everything to do with that book. And sure, yeah, working with a big name like that would be great, but I don't want to be lost in it.
Sure.
I want to create my own
Sure.
stories. So
Well,
if they offered me a job, I wouldn't say no. But if they paid good, whatever. I gotta eat. But it's my dream job is.
Now, Tara in the chat would like to know who inspired you.
Oh, that question.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, it's a number of things, and I had that question the other day. Like, who were the female people that you looked up to? I'm like, I didn't think of it that way. Like Don Bluth, I looked up to him, and Miyazaki. The way that he creates a world. Holy crap! Like the things that. I'm gonna go a little geeky on that, but like the things that
Geeky on our show, never.
way.
What?
like in his films, like someone closing a door and then stop to adjust and close again. You're animating it. That's unnecessary frames, but he still does it because it's
Right.
natural. And so that I feel was a huge inspiration. Avatar: Last Airbender, the way that they wrote that show and the way they made the characters feel so real. That was a huge inspiration, style-wise and writing-wise too. So it's just a lot of things come together.
Now, you said you were watching the animation. Were you reading comics as a kid?
There were like the tiny little Disney comics.
Which characters?
Oh gosh,
Like Donald or
it was
Darkwing.
Darkwing Duck?
there were the Rescue Rangers.
Oh,
Rescue
hey.
Rangers.
Yeah, there was a comic for them. that I read quite a
Baby
bit.
Huey just went nuts in the back of the studio,
His hands
jumping
wave.
up and down and waving. He still watches that to this day.
Really?
I can't say that I don't.
Oh. So I had a gadget toy, and my sister put her in a boat and sent her down a river, and I never
Oh.
saw her again. So it's a very tragic moment. But
Baby Huey, get her a gadget toy.
Yep.
He's on.
And Felix Hergood in the chat. Everything's going well. Thanks, thanks, buddy.
Hey, Felix.
Thanks for coming in of the Emerging Gamer Podcast here on the OG,
OG
Podcast Network.
That's
OGPodcastNetworks.com.
Sponsored by the Hackensack Meridian Hell Stage 17.
just getting our plugs in.
Get them all in there.
Anything you want to plug?
no.
You can
So,
say me.
I do have a follow up to the animation question. Like any of your current properties, would you see yourself making an animation of them now?
Yes. If it wasn't me just, plugging away at an animation, but yes, I would absolutely love that. Yeah.
Nice.
What about working with somebody else? Like if somebody watched this and went, "Oh, I love to animate," and then all of a sudden they reached out to you, is that something?
Character
that you would-
design, storyboarding, yeah, I'm on. Yeah, for sure. I've always thought about, getting back into that world. I mean, I still love it, even though, the horror stories that come out of the major studios, but yeah, a small team creating something really cool. Like that new Spider-Man animation. Oh my goodness, that artwork.
Yeah.
Whew. So yeah,
I'm-
something like that.
I'm not even a Miles fan, and I'm like, I got to see that movie.
Yeah, it looks stunning.
Well, Nick Cage is in it too, so.
Maurer, who's Miles?
Miles
You gotta do
Morales. A
Uh-huh.
quick breakdown. He is the second Spider-Man from the Ultimate Universe. He took over the mantle after Peter Parker died there, which caused an outrage among fans until they brought him back. He's now on the Earth 616, taking over the mantle as Miles Morales as Spider-Man again. He has a movie coming out called Into the Spider-Verse.
Well done.
Ding.
That was good.
Wow.
That was good. It was
Wow.
concise. It was well done.
What was that?
I'm proud of you, man.
Welcome back.
The ghost of comic past just took over.
Future.
Well, so and then also going off the last question, you were talking about moving things into animation. We had a chance recently to talk to Jonathan Mayberry about projects that he was working on, and one of his own creator-owned books was V Wars, which is like a vampire kind of apocalyptic story. But it's a show that got picked up on Netflix now, and that's coming out soon. Now, if all of a sudden you found out that a studio is interested in making something more out of your creator-owned projects, and since you do like to keep back to the indie scene, are you okay with something like that? Would you absolutely say yes, take the work, make something with it,
Yes.
or you hang back?
I would say, here's my project and here's a piece of my soul. Please, please make
Piece
it.
of the soul.
Yeah, I mean, if they approach me, heck yeah. I mean, the deal has to be right. But yeah, I mean, if I could get a little say in the creative process and behind the scenes.
I think that's really more where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
is
Yes.
the little bit of writing that I've done, I felt very connected to my own characters, and I feel very protective of them almost. And the idea of relinquishing that much control is a little scary. So how do you feel about the idea of giving up the reins, so to speak?
Oh, yeah, that is tricky. Yeah, because creating Plume, I was very adamant about the main character being a strong female lead that was covered up. And I can see like some studio wanting to have her shirt pop open or something like that. So I'd want it to be treated well. But I also, I want it to, expand out into that world too. So it's tricky.
is.
It is very tricky.
What's funny, Todd McFarlane today during his panel said, everybody's going to ask me about this, so I'm going to talk about the movie Venom. And he's like, I went in with one checkbox I wanted to look at, and he's like, I just wanted the character to be a big hulking monster. I don't care about anything else, because as the artist, he wanted to see what he created on that screen. He's like, it's Sony's $100 million. They need to take care of Sony and get their money back, so I'm going to give them that. I went in to see that. So he kind of relinquished everything he did with the character just to see a version of the character on the screen because he knows it's somebody else's vision. Do you think you'd be able to do that?
That's a rough question. That's a real
That
rough
is
question.
a rough question.
I don't envy
That's
this
my
answer.
time.
You said to ask you some tough questions. Specifically.
No, I said, okay. all
Pretty
right.
sure that's softball, but okay.
I got that wrong again.
Yeah, I mean, you got to trust in others a little bit. If they're in that industry, they know what they're doing. But yeah, I don't know. It's your baby. You want it to be treated well, and that's a tough question.
Trying to protect as well as get the biggest audience as you can, like get in front of as many eyes as possible.
Yeah.
Sometimes to do that, sacrifices must be made.
I don't have kids, but that's my kid.
Yeah, I get you.
And you want to shove them out into the world, but you also want to shield
Still
their
have
eyes.
the arms around, like,
Yeah.
look, but don't go anywhere.
Yeah, don't trip. Here, shove. So, yeah, it's tough.
That's why you pushed me earlier.
Yeah.
Just
Get out there.
Now, if you could do any kind of a major character, right? Because now this is like a new renaissance of comic bookdom, right? With the movies being what they are, and the eyes now being all over the industry again. If you could take on a major character and write a story for, who would be your ideal character?
Somebody out of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they just
Rocket.
announced a new Guardians of the Galaxy member, and it's Space Ghost Rider or Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, Maurer.
Space Ghost
Who's
Rider.
Cosmic? You did this to yourself,
Breakdown.
bro. Who's Cosmic Ghost
In
Rider?
Break-
a
break
alternate
it
future
down.
where Frank Castle, the Punisher, is fighting Thanos.
Yeah.
He makes a wish that the one thing he wanted to do is kill that. Well, he is then brought down and given the power of the Ghost Rider for revenge. But after years on planet Earth by himself, he goes a little crazy. He's then brought in as a herald of Galactus, and so on and so forth. He gets the power cosmic mixed with Ghost Rider, a little crazy, and now he's a Guardian of the Galaxy member.
Does he ever achieve vengeance?
Always.
That's spoiler alert. No, read the book.
Read it.
Okay.
Read.
All right.
Read your
Jeez.
vegetables.
So what kind of media do you find yourself consuming then? Because I know as a creator, it's a little hard sometimes to try and keep up with things, especially when you have a lot of projects in the work. So when you do want to unwind and you do want to unplug, what do you go to?
Oh, yeah. So my stack of books are it's embarrassing.
Like-
Yeah. And then people are like, "Oh, you read my book?" I was like, "I haven't gotten to it yet."
What's on the list?
And then when you're doing comics, the last thing you want to do is comics. My go-to while I'm drawing is podcasts. I love
Oh.
podcasts.
Well, there's this great podcast.
Fireside Chats on the OG Podcast Network.
That's the OGPodcastNetwork.com.
We're on Twitter at OG Podcasts.
They made me do that. They made me say that.
Slipper at 20.
And then video games. If I have to sometimes I have to shut my brain down, but some video games you can't. But video games, I'm a gamer.
What's your type of video game? What genre?
Well, I'm like super geeked over Red Dead Redemption coming out.
Wow, there you go.
Okay.
Oh, so geeked.
What's that dance again?
Oh, so geeked.
I'm going to just take a guess here that Westerns play a very big role.
You know,
There's a
so
love for Westerns
Red
here.
Dead played a huge role in the genre for Plume. Like endless hours of playing that game. I was like, we'll do a Western. So, and then Last of Us, I love that game. I got into PUBG, so it's a little bit of a PC on the side.
Are you streaming?
No,
Okay. just checking.
yeah.
But once you start bringing PUBG and streaming, you're like, I mean, that just goes hand in hand
I just
nowadays.
you just have to get on and kill people. You don't want people to watch you. So
That reminds me of somebody I know.
All eyes on Mauer.
Ding.
This protective soul over here just gets angry every once in a while. We do have a question from the chat as well. So Allison Spooner wants to know, what are your favorite themes to explore?
Oh, Allison. Hi, Allison.
Hi, Allison.
Hi, Allison.
Hi, Allison.
She's my bestie. I've known her for 20 years.
Bestie Allison.
What was the question?
It is, what are your favorite themes to explore?
Oh,
In writing, I assume.
yeah. So themes. Ooh, I mean,
wallpapers for her phone. What do you mean in writing?
Animating.
Live or still?
she's a writer, so of course she's like, she's gonna like throw this like.
writing question.
We said
Yeah.
softball questions, Allison.
Yeah, Allison. Themes like with Plume. I mean, the running theme was revenge, and then revenge creates revenge, and there's no end to it. So there's no happy ending really. You just have to live and let go and move on. So that inner turmoil to a character. I love torturing them. I love torturing characters. So. Putting them in a
very
really
Kirkman of you.
putting them in a tough situation and watching them grow. That's torture my kids.
So as a torturer and a gamer, I'm assuming you play The Sims?
Oh, wow.
Oh, I would put them in a pool and remove the ladder. I watch them pee themselves to death. It's just
Pee themselves to death.
Yeah, they
If
can
you
do
don't
that
put a
The
bathroom in there.
Sims.
Yeah,
They can, yeah.
Wow, that's brutal.
yeah.
Oh, well, that goes into my next question. There's a segue. So with handling genres such as like westerns and darker
Mysticism.
mysticism, darker superhero stories. What's a genre that you haven't tackled yet that you might be interested to start?
Ooh. Like major sci-fi.
Ooh.
I've been toying with the idea of like time traveling pirates. The big pirate ship going through time. Time and space.
Like Time Bandits?
Yeah, basically, yeah. They go back in time and steal from back in the olden days when they don't have any like technology or anything to like protect themselves, and then they go back. That's why their ship looks like a pirate ship, so they're not detected. So I've been playing with that story. That story's been sitting on my shelf for quite a bit. So yeah, I think that would be the next genre that I'd dive into.
Oh, we got
So
another-
you have a lot. You're an artist. You're a writer. Do you prefer doing the art for your own ideas, or is it sometimes cool? This person did the work on the writing. I just get to be the artist and make it look amazing.
Good question.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I want it all. No, actually, working with Pat Shand and Dirk Manning, it's been a breeze. They're both very receptive to suggestions, and if I have a different idea for a panel, they love to hear it. But being the writer and the artist has its pros and cons. I mean, you not only are you drawing, but you're telling the story through the art too. So it's basically writing as well. And then there's a fluidity of it. Things shift around as you're drawing, as you're writing, and you can just change course freely because you're calling the shots. So I like collabing, but I also I really enjoy that.
Well,
You know,
no,
yeah.
they both have questions. We
Oh.
all kind of want to stay in the writing theme here, but I also want
Yeah.
to make sure we keep getting into the chat. So
Oh, yeah.
we're going to take a chat question, then we're going to
Yeah.
go back to
That's
writing.
what I was
All
gonna
right.
do.
So the chat question right here we got from Tara. Overall favorite video game ever?
That's a hard question.
Overall favorite game ever.
Ever,
Just-
ever,
All
ever.
time.
Well, October 26th might change this with, Red Dead Redemption 2
Okay.
coming out. I'd have to say Last of Us. I played that game so many times. The story is so strong, and then, just playing through it is fun. You get to kill zombies. I mean, come on. So, I'm very story driven, obviously. So, yeah, I'd have to say Last of Us. And I'm super stoked about the second one coming out, too.
Now I'm going to turn around. Tara, in the chat, tell us what your favorite game is.
Now, before we get back into writing and before we get back into relinquishing control or being a control freak, for anybody who's just tuning in or anybody who's just joining the chat, we are at the OG Podcast Network. This is Fireside Chats. I'm Menti. You got Mr. Maury. You got Features.
And we're at the Hackensack Meridian Health Stage 17.
For Con After Dark.
I was
God
letting
After
features. We got this.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
All right, let's get back into the questions. So, one of the things that I wanted to know as far as the idea of writing and the idea of doing the art at the same time, does the knowing that you're going to be drawing that page that you're writing affect or influence the way that you write that page? Like, do you write going, all right, this is going to be a splash page right here. This scene is my splash page.
Yeah, I mean, I cut corners. I mean, why write it out when you're just gonna, draw it? But yeah, I mean, me being the artist, I just write really simple. I even just do like a synopsis of what I want that chapter to do or to accomplish, and then I map it out with some thumbnails. So I don't even like go full script into it. It's just kind of this loosey goosey, what's happening, where everyone's at, and yeah, dive into it with the thumbnails.
By the way, Tara said her favorite game is Zelda.
Which one?
Yeah,
Don't like that I'm
Tara.
turning this back on you. We have the mics, so we have the power.
Now, I know you were talking about
You do
Mike.
your thing.
also power.
Yeah, you got power.
As far as like the editing process for your storyboards, when you're actually creating the panels, does that also like change the story? Sometimes you get to a certain panel you're gonna draw, and then you're like, I think this scene would look fantastic, but then it also forces you to edit some of the story.
Yeah. Oh, it's constantly changing. Yeah. Yeah. If it's, I think this moment would look really cool as a full page. Then it'll morph, the script and the pacing and all that. So I know that if there's a page like a splash page that I want to aim for, then it like I push everything around that moment. So yeah, it's constantly just changing, and I love that process. I really do. So
Nice.
Now, you had said that you're a control freak.
to a certain extent, yes.
I know a little bit about that.
A little bit.
Sit back.
Can we mute their microphones just for a moment?
Oh no, I just want to hear this one. Go ahead.
Continue.
Now, do you find any benefits when you are working with someone else to give you that occasional stop? You might want to think about that. Oh my God, don't do that. Where are you going to put the body? Like, those kind of questions.
What?
The
I'm done with the assaults and stuff, man. What? You can't come up to
And-
New York Comic Con anymore.
No.
I'm scaring for the general public. I like.
And we're back to violence.
This is Mauer, by the way. It's all Mauer. Originally, when they were talking about the seating arrangements, I was worried for your well-being.
He doesn't even have the hoodie on.
Actually, no. With Pat and with Dirk, and I don't want to call them out, I find they are more of the control freak than I. So,
Shots fired.
yeah. That's what you get, Dirk, for not being here. No.
There was a mic there. I say was.
Yeah, I mean, of course, again, they're super easy to work with, and
Yep, rolling it back.
yeah, and I love them so very much, and they're great. No,
Who doesn't love it?
I just, yeah, I mean, you want to do right by the project, and hear out, even if you think it's in the weeds, you don't get too far in the weeds, all that saying, but it's their project, it's their vision, So let's be perfect.
Well, then going off that, the idea of it being somebody else's project or somebody else's vision, I know that everything that we've talked about is very creator driven, but sometimes you might get asked to write a story that you don't have a real passion for. You're not really too into it, but the paycheck's there.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to take on a project that you just don't really feel for, just to make sure that you've got food on the table? Like how far does the creator aspect go and the career aspect goes?
Yeah, that is a tough one. Because at some point it's no longer a passion. It's
A career.
it's a career. Yeah. Yeah, you constantly do have to find that paycheck. And if you find a story that you're not too passionate about, I struggle to like find that little aspect of the story that I'll play on and love. Like I've been blessed with being offered projects that I am like, oh, that's great. Let's do it. So far, it's been good. But if it comes down to the point where I'm like, I have to do this story that I'm not like, this girl is completely naked in the story for no reason. All right, I'm gonna go work a barista job and to get that money there. Because I mean, we have a brand. We all should, have this sacred image and reputation and stick to it. And I'm not gonna. I'm trying not to sell my soul for a paycheck.
I get that. I get the idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Working to work almost.
Yes. Yeah.
There's integrity there.
Yes.
I get
Yeah.
you.
And then, that bad project might lead to another bad project. It might lead. So that's just not a path I want to go down. So.
Let's not picture any of our projects then. She might not just leave it where
more
it is.
violence.
Well, it's the John Cusack. John Cusack does terrible movies to pay for the movies he actually wants to do.
I like that identity.
Okay.
You're the one person. Anybody like Identity? Crickets.
Wow.
So you've gone down this path of, your projects and working with other people. Is there anybody out there that you just would love to put your art style or your writing style to their art style? Like a dream, like, man, I know I could write the hell out of a story for that person to draw, or vice versa.
Oh, I mean, I have a bunch of artist friends, so teaming up with them would be awesome. There's no big name or dream or anything like that. Like, again, my dream project is me sitting by myself in a room and drawing and writing. And
I'm playing video games with the Sims in the background, just killing.
exactly, yeah. I mean, you can just leave that game. You can just watch them die.
It's like
great.
TV. Look at them squirm.
You're living out your inner Mauer.
Welcome.
But yeah, I can't think of any really big name.
Even
yeah.
small, like, let's plug some of your friends. Like, who would you like to work with out of your friends?
Well, Allie Cantarella and
Allie.
yeah, you know Allie,
Mhm.
yeah. Dan Doherty and Gavin Smith. If I forget someone,
I mean, she
it's
doesn't
like
care
it's-
about you.
Oh,
No.
don't say
Oh,
that, man. What's wrong
I mean,
with you?
Wowzers.
God.
Just being extra mean tonight. It's
I
Sunday.
know. Can somebody turn his mic off?
and then insert your name here. So
Well,
yeah.
I've noticed that about, meeting you and, some of the artists that you and writers you associate with. You guys have a family feel. Like, I've never walked up to anybody else that was so welcoming to be like, hey, you know what? If you like my work, there's 17 other people here that I know and work with. Go check out them. You're going to love their project.
yeah.
And you don't find that all the time in Artist Alley because of the struggle between creating art and eating.
Yeah.
So how did you stumble into that, or, did somebody bring you into that family?
I don't know how to even who I met first and all that. It's basically, it comes down to this: don't be a dick, and then suddenly you've got.
Can we just take a second and just look at the cameras?
Do I have to leave now?
Possibly.
This is your exit.
This is our Jim from The Office moment.
But yeah, you gravitate towards those who are very similar to yourself, or that share the same interests. And God, we're in Comic-Con, we're sharing the same interests, and it's not a competition. Like, once you figure out you're not competing with these people, you are a team. If this is, if they're successful, then that paves the way for your success
Absolutely.
too. So yeah, you're not climbing over each other. So yeah, let's not be a dick and
Mauer. Now, we do have another question from the chat. This one also comes from
Is
Tara.
it bashing me?
Probably. Tara says she loves the fact that your characters are fully clothed and wants to know what your inspiration behind that would be.
Clothing.
You wear it.
What a great
Yeah.
answer.
Clothing.
Yeah. In general.
I'm a fashionista in clothing.
Yeah, clothing. No, I mean, I was pitched an idea. This comes down the line of branding and refusing projects, and I'm not going to name names or anything like that. But I was pitched an idea, and I was like, no, that's not what I want. You just see too many often, like the stories of, oh, it's a strong female lead, but it's not. I mean, she's bending over weird and sticking out her butt. No one picks up a pencil like that. Like
Features.
Features, yeah.
so, and
If
it's,
there's mirrors by, yeah, he does.
it's not my cup of tea, really. I mean, it's somebody else's, but it's not mine. And so, yeah, I wanted a strong female lead, and I didn't want to concentrate on her being female. Like, I wanted her just to be on this quest. She's righting a wrong, and she's, bloody and bruised and, abused, and, but her gender doesn't hold her back or is ever, like, touched upon, like, you shouldn't be doing this, situation. So I wanted a really strong, clothed female lead.
So that's going to steer me towards a kind of split fandom right now in regards to Joss Whedon and his strong female characters. Which camp are you on? Are you thankful for what he's doing, or do you think he's saying he's doing something and not really providing what he says?
Yeah, see, that's tricky. I've always been a fan of his writing. I always think that he does a really good job of telling a story. But now with this controversy, I do see that there's a little bit of an exploitation in the way, and I want to say yes. I mean, I want to say I'm on his side. I mean, I'm a fan of his writing, and
Because yes, you have Buffy, but then you have Firefly, who was filled with fully clothed, non-sexual
well, yeah.
females who were written probably better than the men on the show.
Well, yeah, heck yeah, yeah.
Um,
Buffy's the big one. I mean, that was my jam growing up. It's weird saying growing up because how old is that show? It's a really old
It's
show.
old.
Yeah, I like recently watched it again. I was like, this is
Old enough to call it the jam.
Yeah.
yeah, my jam.
It was not. It was 4-3. It was a square show. For those of you that don't know, shows used to be square.
And it looks awful now. Like watching it
Oh.
now, it's bad. But
You just skipped to season like 3 when they switch.
yeah. But there are moments like she's like a cheerleader and ditzy at times, but she's badass. She's kicking butt. Is that something you're gonna bleep? That's
You can say butt. You can might
Oh,
even
it's
be able to
bad
say
butt.
ass.
bad butt sounds awful.
Yeah, bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's something that now in the comic world and just the world we're in, people are looking at everything differently, and it's unique to have somebody like you who's willing. Hey, I'm coming up in this industry, but I'm going to stand my ground and I'm going to do me, even if you're willing to pay me to go over there and do a Barbarella.
Yeah, I mean, there's opportunity out there, and you just have to find it, the right one for you, I guess.
I mean, I also kind of even like you taking the idea of a Barbarella and turning it into something new. I mean, look at
That-
Laura Croft. Laura
Yeah.
Croft is a prime example of taking something that was exploitive and then turning it into something unique, original, and wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you could do a character like that,
Still not wearing a lot of clothes though.
Actually,
Okay,
it's
we
just-
could put like full pants, maybe sleeves.
I think they would have a
We do that.
conniption if she was fully clothed, like
I
in
think-
a
I
parka
think, yeah.
and
I'm trying to think like the studio is not going to be too thrilled, but
Yeah.
But would you want to ever revamp a character to that degree? Would you be willing to take on a job like that
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the backlash would be there with but
and take it full? Yeah.
yeah, but if you do it right and then really embrace it, then yeah, if the opportunity's there, for sure. Yeah,
The
I'll put her in a parka.
Oh, parka?
Yeah.
How's she gonna like swing around and jump in a parka? That doesn't seem
A
functional.
moo-moo, it's breezy.
A moo.
On that note, Laura Croft in a moo coming to a theater near you.
Tara in the chat also would like to know, where can she find your books?
KaylinSmith.net is where I'm just like stationed, and you can find everything. PlumeComic.com is where Plume rests, and then my social media is Kaylin tweets, Twitter, and
That makes sense.
yeah, Plume Comic on Facebook. Yeah,
Kaylin tweets on Instagram would be a little weird.
yeah.
So, where are we going to find you next? You have any shows coming up?
Yeah, next week, Ace in Chicago, and then Chicago, and then Grand Rapids Comic Con in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in November.
I didn't know where Grand Rapids was.
Really?
I'm joking.
Oh,
What is he?
Gotcha.
I hear woo.
So it was funny when we were at we keep going back to the Todd McFarlane panel that we were at today.
Because we're Todd McFarlane geeks.
But there was something that he said that I thought was interesting when he was talking about Artist Allen. He was talking about these are the people who were in the thick of it, right? And he gave all of this life advice while he was up there, right? And it was interesting coming from somebody obviously who's established. But out of curiosity, what advice would you give somebody who doesn't think they're not ready to go to even the Greater Philadelphia Comic Con, right? Doesn't think they're ready to push their work out there
Comic-Con. Going to a Comic-Con and getting a table? Or,
getting a table, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Comic
putting your work out
convention.
there.
We don't want to say Comic Con anymore after.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
sorry.
yes. Con
Con.
After Dark.
Get the lawyers on the phone.
Yeah, I think it's very important to get yourself out there. Definitely attending a show and talking to the artists beforehand, getting a feel for what others are doing and what they're doing well is hugely important. I wouldn't just, ever, dive into a table without, seeing what it's all about first. Sometimes these shows are, really expensive. So for your first time, find a local convention and maybe like a one-day show and start there and work your way up. And it's scary to talk to people. Some people are scary, but
I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's very important just to get yourself into this circle and talk to as many people as you can.
Now, we had mentioned you do both the writing and the artists. McFarlane, again, brought up if you're a writer and don't have an artist.
So much McFarlane.
Listen, his speak was his
I
TED
did.
talk.
I was very inspired after that.
But he told writers,
It's the
go
Kevin
find an
Smith show,
artist and see if they're willing to work with you. And ask 50 artists, and 49 of them say no. At least that one might say yes. And for artists looking for writers, do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel like if somebody comes up to you and says, I have a story?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think people are receptive to that, or is there a certain way that you'd recommend for them to do it? Because a lot of people have come from Todd McFarlane's talk today, his TED talk on succeeding in the comic industry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what other advice can you put on top of that?
Yeah, I mean, having a quick pitch, finding something that grabs people that, if you want to pitch an idea to an artist, keep in mind that they are there to make money and, blocking their table to pitch them for like 20 minutes, it probably wouldn't swing well. So, I mean, yeah, having something, very quick, say, hey, I'm interested. Can I email you? And then set up, a contact through that way where you can, hash out the story a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, nailing down that pitch is pretty important. For sure.
Under 2 minutes?
Yeah, under 2 minutes. That would be a good one. Yeah.
Under 2 minutes.
So funny that you said that because we got about 2 minutes to go here.
So, is it that time to do that thing?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I got one last question.
This is the last one.
This is the last one.
The last
We
one.
talked a lot about the writing through this whole process, right? And we didn't touch on the art as much as I'd like, and maybe we could do a follow-up interview later on for that. But I would love to know, when did the writing really take prevalent or prominent in your life? When did writing become a mainstay for you? Was it Plume? Was it just jumping into that and then keeping that going, or was that something you always also wanted to do?
Yeah.
You just found an outlet for it.
Yeah, I think I always dreamed about being a published author as well. I've always, writing my own stories. Actually, Allison Spooner that asked a question. She and I would pass a notebook back and forth, like a round robin. Like she would write a paragraph, I would write a paragraph, and we would just create this really weird story that had no like ending at all. But yeah, so it was way early in my life. I was creating stories, and I've got a million novels started and not at all finished. And then, so yeah, I think when I finally started writing Plume and like this thing started morphing together, my art side and my writing side, I was like, oh my God, why haven't I thought of this before? So it was perfect, you know. So I got to, you know, exercise both sides of my brain.
Kaylin, thank you. A million books on the way, right? So everybody stay tuned. There's a lot coming. But yeah,
and she'll read your book eventually. It's just
It's in a stack.
Yes.
listen, we can relate to that. We have so many books that we want to read.
our pull list is like,
But then when you add, you know, comic movies, comic TV, comic video games, comic novellas, comic
Netflix as just alone.
having a podcast here with the OGPodcastNetwork.com.
Live from Hackensack
Meridian.
Health.
at
Stage
Stage 17.
Hey.
We didn't rehearse that at all.
I felt it.
Menti, do that thing.
All right, you can find the show at Welcome to Fireside everywhere online. WelcomeToFireside.com or whatever social media you prefer. Once again, I'm Menti.
I'm Features.
And I'm Mr. Maurer. Don't forget to check us out on the OG Podcast
Why
Network.
would you do it again?
Because I am a robot programmed to say that. But no, seriously, Kaylin, it is always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
One more time, let everybody watching and listening know where to find you in your 60-second social media pitch.
And all the million books on the way.
And time. Okay, KaylinSmith.net, PlumeComic.com, Kaylin Tweets on Twitter, Handmade Crown on Instagram, and Plume Comic on Facebook.
That was
Boom.
12 seconds.
Well done.
All
It's like
right.
that was rehearsed. That was
So
well done.
now we're going to end the show with some 5-second poses. Are you
All right,
ready?
here we go. We got a pose.
Deuces.